What's up, guys? I wanted to make this video today. I've been a long-time supporter of the West Memphis 3 for many years, and until recently I got bored and I started re-looking into the case, and I realized there was so many things that was left out of the documentaries, the Paradise Lost documentaries that was on HBO several years ago. There was so much more evidence that was not even used, that wasn't even viewed. It's just crazy. It's overwhelming amounts. And I'm just going to read a couple of things today. Again, there's for anything pretty much that I say, there's documents. I mean, these are straight up facts, but it's interesting, and I just wanted to share it. But Jessie Misskelley, he confessed numerous times. I'm sure you all know that. The Paradise Lost and West of Memphis documentaries, and the book and the movie Devil's Knot completely left out the fact that Jessie Misskelley confessed to the murders numerous times, both before and after he was convicted. On May 6, 1993, the morning after the murders, Jessie's friend, Buddy Lucas, stopped by Jessie's house. Buddy said Jessie told him he hurt some boys in West Memphis the night before. He then broke out in a sweat, cried, and gave Buddy a used pair of sneakers. Quite possibly the ones he wore the day of the crime. On June 3rd, 1993, with consent from his father, Jessie was taken to the West Memphis Police Department for questioning. He was being questioned because he was a known friend of Damien Echols, who was a suspect in the murders. With additional written permission from his father, he was read his Miranda rights and given a polygraph exam, which he reportedly failed. The documentaries imply that Jessie was interrogated for 12 hours before confessing. That is a lie. Jessie arrived at the police station at 10 o'clock a.m. and confessed at 2:20 p.m. Now, you always hear, he was interrogated for 12 hours or whatever. That was simply not true. Only 2.5 hours of that time was spent in actual interrogation. Pretty crazy. Pretty crazy how those documentaries, they approached them as innocent. They just left out all the facts. That was their go. Good TV is good TV, I guess, though. They made a lot of money off of it. June 7th, 1993. Jessie's own family members believed he could have been involved with the murders. You never heard that, did you? Jessie Misskelley Sr. was interviewed by KAIT TV just days after his son's arrest. On camera, Jessie Sr. admitted Jessie Jr. may have been with Echols and Baldwin at the crime scene. Now, see, I know, you've probably seen that, but it was so distorted. The Paradise Lost documentaries, they completely distorted that. June 11th, 1993. Many recent reports suggest Jessie immediately recanted. He did not. He confessed again to his own attorneys 8 days later. August 19th, 1993, Jessie Misskelley met with his attorney, Dan Stidham, at the Clay County Detention Center and gave a statement that continued to confirm his guilt. On February the 4th, 1994, on the day he was sentenced to life plus 40 years for the murders, he got in a police car and confessed to the officers all the way to the prison. All the way to the prison. Crazy. February the 8th, 1994, he put his hand on a Bible and swore to his attorney that he, Damien, and Jason committed the murders. Further, he told his attorney that he was drunk on Evans Williams whiskey during the murders, and the broken bottle could be found where he threw it on the ground under a bridge in West Memphis on his way home from the crime scene. His attorney told the prosecutors he would believe his client's confession if he could find that bottle. So they went and they found the broken Evan Wims bottle. It was in the exact area that the attorney indicated Jessie said it would be. See, that they didn't even really talk about that, or I don't even know if they talked about it at all. Like, that's new to me. I don't know if I remember ever seeing that in the documentaries. There's a guy, though. His name's William Ramsey, and he's been looking at this case for a long time. And, like, if you want to know more facts about this, look him up. He has a book out called Abomination. I mean, it's all facts. Now, I wouldn't be just sitting here and saying any of this stuff because the HBO documentaries, they try to make it seem like, they were just being targeted because they listened to heavy metal music or they were goth. See, back in the day, and I still am, I'm punk, I love heavy metal music, but back in the day, I was kind of goth, especially in my area. I live in there's a church on every corner in my area. So, I've always been discriminated against. Like, I always heard, you're a devil worshiper, or you're a drug dealer, or whatever, It was the same stuff. So I kind of related to, all that happening to them because I always felt singled out. But it's really not the case with them. That's just, how the documentaries, they wanted you to see it. On February the 17th, 1994, this time Jessie confessed to the prosecutors. At the start of the confession, the prosecutors noted that Jessie had not been promised any deals for his testimony. His attorneys begged him not to give this confession, but he gave it anyways. I'm sure you've probably heard pieces of that, his attorneys, they even ask him, they're like, hey, you want to talk to your dad? And then they're like, you're 18 years old, you can do whatever. And he's like, he wants something done about it. That's what he said. He said he wants something done about it. Now, they always imply, he has a low IQ level, which he does. You can totally hear that. But a lot of his testimonies, they were consistent. They were really consistent. And you can also, I might post it later, but you can hear the full confession, the audio that was recorded. It's insane. Okay, you see in the documentary where Damien Echols, he talks about how he was in a mental institution. They never really dug into that on there, so you were just like, okay. He says he's depressed. Everybody's depressed. Hell, I get depressed sometimes, but it was so much more than that. I spent the last couple of days looking through his psych eval, and it is insane. I mean, I'm talking everything from sucking blood, threats of murder, just crazy stuff. Insane. The documentaries, they all fail to mention that Damien Echols had an extensive mental health record, and it's more than 500 pages long. At the time of the murders in 1992, he was sent to psychiatric hospitals twice by court order and once by his own parents. His parents were concerned about his involvement in what they described as witchcraft and devil worship and wanted him out of their home. In September 1992, Damien's parents told his mental health physician they were frightened of him and what he can do, not only to them, but to other children that reside in the home. The mental health documents are public record because Damien's attorneys presented them as evidence in the sentencing phase of the trial. It was a last-ditch effort by Echols' attorneys to convince the jury he was mentally ill and possibly spare him from the death penalty. Despite their jaw-dropping revelations about Echols' mental health at the time of the murders, these records are never mentioned in any of the documentaries. That's what I was just saying, like, it never showed any of that. Then there's documents, other documents that they reveal reports of cruelty to animals. There was an incident where several witnesses, including Jason Baldwin's own cousin, reported Damien stomped a dog to death in 1992. I mean, it's a documented fact, and many murderers start killing animals early on. And I was looking at his mental health eval, and I think it's activities he likes to do when he's at home, whatever. One of them was reading, which is pretty obvious. Going into the woods and hunting. Like, what the hell was he hunting? So he was in the Charter Hospital of Little Rock. In June 1992, he was trying to suck blood off peers who have scratched themselves. I mean, this is documented. Also in 1992 at the Craighead County Juvenile Detention Center. A Charter Hospital psychological assessment written on September 10th described his return to juvie, transferred to Crittenden. One of the kids at the detention hall cut his wrist. Damien grabbed his arm and began to suck the blood, smeared it all over his body, and said he's a devil-worshipping vampire. Approximately 3 hours after Damien arrived, he was sitting in rec area with several other residents. One of the boys had scraped his arm a little, and it was bleeding some. Without warning, Damien grabbed the arm that was bleeding and began to suck the blood from it. The boys all stated he had been saying he had not taken his medication the night before, and he was about to go off on them. In a psychological evaluation dated in September the 15th, 1992, Echols offered his own account of the incident. While at the detention center, he reportedly grabbed a peer and began sucking blood from the peer's neck. According to Damien, he relates that the peer was aware that he was going to do this. The staff reported that Damien was not remorseful for his behavior. Damien indicated that he sucked blood in order to get into a gang. He denies that it was any type of ritual. Damien laughed when he was called a blood-sucking vampire. He relates he does not know why people think this. He was placed in isolation in the detention center until he could be admitted to Charter Hospital. The other peers were afraid of him. Damien denies that he rubbed the blood all over his face. He denied intent to harm himself or others at the time of the exam. He did admit to sucking blood out of the peer's neck. He related that the peer had hurt his neck and he sucked the blood. Okay, there was green fibers, microscopically similar to a shirt found in Echols' home, and red fibers similar with a bathrobe found in Baldwin's home. They were both found on the victims. Here's another one, candle wax. There was blue candle wax that was found on a book in Echols' bedroom. A small blue candle was also found on a table in his girlfriend's bedroom. Why, you ask, why is that important? Because blue candle wax was found on the shirt of victim Stevie Branch. It was never proven that the waxes matched, though. But I mean, it's still crazy. And I know you heard about the lake knife. A knife was found submerged blade down in the pond directly behind Jason Baldwin's home. Now, I mean, if you go back and you listen to Misskelley's, testimony, he talks about Baldwin having a knife at the time. Maybe I think he mentions it every single time. Like, they ask him, whose knife was it? And he's like, Jason Baldwin. But, I mean, it could have been Damien's knife, too. His ex-girlfriend, Deanna Hawcombe, testified that the knife was similar to the knife that belonged to Damien. She said Damien's knife was unique because it had a compass on the end. During the trial, a knife distributor testified that the lake knife had a missing compass. Now, I remember those knives when I was a kid. They were survival knives. I'm not sure if it was the same kind, but like, I think I had one when I was a kid. The compass would screw off, and inside, it would hold like matches and stuff like that. I've actually seen, I know you probably heard, how they had the kids had bite marks on them, and said it was from snapping turtles in the area. I seen a report where I forgot his name, but it actually matches up to the bite marks matches up to the end of the compass. It's pretty insane. I don't know if you heard about this. I'm sure you haven't. Damien had a bloody necklace. It had, I think it was like an axe or something. I don't know. That's the charm on it, but it was never presented to the jury. There was blood found on it from 2 DNA sources. One source was consistent with his own blood. The second source was consistent with the blood of both victim Stevie Branch and co-defendant Jason Baldwin. The bloody necklace was discovered late in the trial. It was never presented to the jury because doing so would have caused a continuance in the trial to give the defense time to examine the new evidence. It could have also led to a mistrial of the Echols and Baldwin cases. Prosecutors claim that the sample was used up in the original testing, so the blood on the necklace cannot be retested. Also, the victims, they were, how they were tied up. There were 3 different knots, and typically, a person, they'll tie one certain way, but the victims were tied with 3 distinct knots, and it points to 3 killers involved in the murders. In the Paradise Lost documentaries, you'll hear people say that no blood was found at the crime scene. Many people have used that to theorize that the murders took place somewhere else and the bodies were later dumped in a ditch. It's a tactic used by the West Memphis 3 defense team to attempt to frame people like Terry Hobbs. The fact is, luminol testing in May 1993 revealed significant amounts of blood at the crime scene. Now, luminol is a chemical. It glows when it's exposed to blood, but, it wasn't admissible in court in 1994. The blood revealed by the luminol clearly shows that the murders occurred exactly where Jessie Misskelley said they did. As one law enforcement official described it, the crime scene lit up like a Christmas tree when the luminol was applied. I never heard of that. There was eyewitnesses. One of the centerpieces of the case involved the Hollingsworth family, who knew Damien and claimed to see him walking near the crime scene, covered in mud on the night of the murders. The witnesses claimed that he was walking with his girlfriend at the time. The witnesses were actually relatives of his girlfriend and knew Damien and his girlfriend well. Prosecutors made a convincing argument that Jason Baldwin and his girlfriend had a similar build and hairstyle at the time of the murders, and could have been easily confused for one another in the dark. Echols, Baldwin, and Misskelley, they did not have alibis. Some of the alibis presented in the west of Memphis are less than truthful. None of the 3 had an alibi that held up in court for hours in which the murders occurred. Echols and Misskelley attempted to provide alibi witnesses, but they were all discredited on the stand during the trials. Jason Baldwin's alibi, it was so flimsy, his attorney did not even bother to present it. Okay, Damien Echols, he lied about many basic facts of the case. He told a 2010 interviewer at the time of the crimes he had lived in Marion, Arizona, and told Larry King it was within 10 or 15 miles of West Memphis. At trial, Damien Echols testified that his residence was at Broadway Trailer Park in West Memphis, within 2 miles of the crime scene. In 1994, he testified to walking around West Memphis frequently. In a 2010 interview, he stated he went to West Memphis hardly at all. Damien frequently walked around West Memphis and was very familiar with the crime scene prior to the murders. He began to walk the moment he got in town. In the morning, at night, when he was anxious or bored or simply awake, through the rain and later the snow, in his heavy black leather jacket and sunglasses, he wandered all around town, quietly but purposely, like a ghost looking for something to haunt. And that was a quote somebody had stated from BostonMagazine.com. Misskelley and Echols failed their polygraph test. Echols and Misskelley both consented to polygraph tests. Baldwin did not. The original polygraph examiner, West Memphis Police Detective Bill Durham, believed Echols and Misskelley showed signs of deception when answering questions about their involvement in the murders. These results were later disputed by other examiners who were paid by the defense. And I know you've probably heard about Damien being at a softball game, and these girls, said he was going around saying that he did it. And they've not recanted. Jody Medford was one of the so-called softball girls, quote, who told jurors she heard Damien Echols boasting to other kids at the softball field about killing the children. A frequent supporter lie is the false claim that Jody Medford has recanted. No public records exist stating that Jody has recanted. Some people may have misunderstood an affidavit by Jody's mother, but nowhere in the affidavit does the mother say her daughter has recanted the story. In the documentaries they say, most of the victim's family, they don't believe the West Memphis 3 did it. But 4 out of the 6 surviving parents of the victims believe they did it. All the celebrities came out and supported them back then. That was really cool to me. But, it's been years later, and you see all the stuff going on in the media nowadays and just how crooked everything is. Hollywood gets involved on things that, that are just downright wrong. Just wrong. And I see that now. And, celebrities are not crime experts. They make mistakes, and most don't know any more about about the West Memphis 3 case than we do. But, and you can ask them why do they think they're innocent, and they'll all say, they watched Paradise Lost. That's why I said they were innocent too. But after I looked at all the evidence that wasn't even featured in the films, I don't think they're innocent anymore. But it's not my job to judge, but I can have an opinion on it, and so can you. But what do you guys think? Send me a message, comment, something.